We
An
love
Ontario
hip-hop.
judge has just allowed the release of 3 prisoners who were accused of first-degree murder from the Maplehurst Correctional Facility after the video was released months ago of guards torturing the inmates after one of the guards was punched in the face. Now, this story stems from a few months back. I was showing you guys the videos of the guards torturing the inmates, having their arms tied with zip ties and having them stripped down and blasting with cold water. It was a crazy incident.
Ontario jail guards in tactical gear manhandling inmates amid a mass strip search caught on video. The incident in December 2023, now the focus of a new provincial investigation.
They wanted to punish collectively the inmate population so that they would be sent a very loud message.
Rarely does the public get a glimpse inside Maplehurst Correctional Complex west of Toronto. These videos, recently shown in court, provide only a snapshot of the violent 2-day operation allegedly carried out as retribution after one inmate punched a guard in the face, leading the jail to deploy its team trained to stamp out riots.
There needs to be a swift reaction to that.
Now, the crazy part about this wild incident is that the Maplehurst facility, as well as Corrections Canada, was trying to keep this under wraps. And the Toronto Star was really trying to expose this story. But after some court deliberations, the Toronto Star was given permission to be able to expose the story. Like I said in the news clip right here, this is something that happened back in 2023. So they were working on it for a while to be able to expose this to the public. But about 6 months ago, the article was published by the Toronto Star and the whole incident was exposed, and things got even crazier when a group photo was asked to be taken after the 2-day torture session. So, like I said, I have an article here courtesy of the Toronto Star. The headline in the article says, "A jail guard warned a celebratory photo would get someone fired as the Maplehurst scandal grows. Ontario is mum on the punishment for this mass strip search." And here's the photo right here of all the guards, I guess, posing. They're all pretty happy and all celebration. They're saying that this gentleman right here that we're going to be speaking about in the article, Officer Wong, is no longer a corrections officer over there at the Maplehurst facility, but he was the one who organized this photo. So let's get into the article. So as you can see from past Friday right there, it was Officer Wong who was in charge of taking the group photo. They warned him, hey man, this might not be a good idea to take this group photo. And you know what? They were right. He ended up getting fired or let go. We don't know exactly because they're never going to let us know completely what's going on with this. But the Toronto Star did their due diligence on exposing this, and the trickle-down effect started happening. However, the adverse effects started happening for a lot of different people when inmates were starting to get released because of these inhumane conditions. And listen, don't get me wrong. I'm all good with people being freed up and stuff like that. But when these court cases are still ongoing, you know, there's different people that are charged with murder. There's different families involved. Now it gets a little bit crazy. Now an ethics conversation starts coming into play. So a recent video has now come out where 3 murder suspects has been released from the Maplehurst correctional facilities and their charges has been stayed because of the inhumane conditions that were happening back in 2023.
After an inmate attacked a correctional officer, this crisis intervention team came down hard in Maplehurst Correctional Complex. Prisoners were stripped down to their underwear, their hands zip-tied, left to sit on the bare floor, in some cases for days. An Ontario judge has now stayed first-degree murder charges against 3 of the inmates, saying their charter rights were violated. In his ruling, Superior Court Justice Clayton Conlon wrote, "The unthinkable has come to pass," and that the 3 men were subjected to torturous state actions at the Maplehurst Correctional Complex in December 2023. And they were undertaken for one reason and one reason only. It was done for vengeance. It was done for retribution.
So as you can see right there, 3 men have been released. Their charges have been stayed. Now, for the people who don't understand all of the legal jargon, when somebody's charges are stayed, it doesn't mean that the case has been thrown out necessarily. It means that the judge needs to find more evidence to be able to retry the case. And there's a certain amount of time, most of the time about a year. If there isn't more evidence to be able to convict in this case, then the charges are thrown out. But we also have to keep in mind and hope that that person doesn't reoffend and get a whole new charge. But when they're, as far as their murder charges, those charges are stayed until they're able to find more evidence to be able to actually convict or try the case. All right. So there are 3 inmates who got released right now who have been charged with murder, but there's a lot of different repercussions that happen with that as far as the families. And there's actually more prisoners that are getting released from the Maplehurst Correctional Facility.
Richard Whitlock, Kulveer Singh Bhatia, and Karnveer Sandhu are accused of the execution-style killing of Armin Dillon and the attempted murder of a woman in Oakville, Ontario. They were scheduled to face trial next year.
If you want charges like this to see their day in court and not be thrown out because of state misconduct, then take it up with the state and try and change the state's actions and hold them accountable.
Do me a quick favor while you're here and smash that like button so we can break the algorithm, and join the comment gang and subscribe. It's free, right? And as you can see right there, a lot of this falls, actually all of this falls on the correctional facility right there, specifically Maplehurst, because the guards and their ego, or the captain and his ego, overcame him after one of the inmates assaulted a guard. I understand that was a heinous act. You know, you shouldn't be assaulting the guards, but we don't know exactly what was happening in the interaction. However, because of the gross misuse of power that the guards were using over there, you know, I feel like a part of that is they were having their own sick fun by torturing these inmates. It resulted in people who might be guilty of some of these charges getting released.
Virginie is worried the man who killed her daughter could be freed sooner.
Where was my loved one rights?
Linval Ritchie pleaded guilty to the second-degree murder of his ex-girlfriend Vanessa Virginie and was sentenced to life without parole for 18 years. But his mistreatment at Maplehurst could have him out on parole early.
And as you can see from that incident right there, there's another gentleman who was charged with a second-degree murder of his girlfriend, and he was sentenced. And because of these inhumane conditions and the torture that went down in 2023, he was sentenced and able to be released. So this is a real bad look when it comes to Correction Services Canada and this whole debacle right here.
I have to live not only with the grief and the loss of my daughter, but now you're adding fear into my everyday life.
On top of stayed cases and reduced sentences, the Ontario government is facing at least 5 lawsuits from former prisoners and a class action lawsuit seeking $30 million in damages.
Ooh-wee! $30 million? This is how bad you guys messed up over there at Correction Services Canada. Because of the overzealousness of the guards, okay? These guys' ego was completely out of check. Now you have class action lawsuits, individual lawsuits. And, you know, as you can see from the videos that I shown earlier, these were some really heinous acts that were going on over there at the jail. So I could understand a lot of people wanting to get retributions for their human rights being violated right there. No matter how much they might have been innocent or guilty of the crime, people will say, oh, well, they're criminals, so who cares how they feel? Well, when you see those, or if you've seen those videos that I showed in the beginning of this, and I feel like it's kind of hard for me to show them again due to the YouTube rules, but if you've seen the videos that I showed near the beginning of this video right here, I don't know if you'd be speaking the same tune.
And so the flash grenade goes off, and what's that like? I've never experienced anything like that. So can you describe what that's like?
Well, it's a grenade designed to disorient you. What it does is, I mean, it's such a loud bang and a loud flash that it just removes all your senses. It's basically like getting knocked out for a few seconds. So they announce their entry by that, and then they're screaming orders. So then from there, they proceed to each cell, and they remove guys from their cell individually, one at a time. From there, they proceed to your cell. They give instructions. You follow the instructions, you're removed from your cell. They're using language, uttering threats, letting us know that they're not messing around. So then I could hear the screams and yelling of the other guys getting twisted up and zip tied and dragged out of their cell. So they pretty much knew what was coming. So then they proceeded to my cell. They instructed me to strip down, or I stripped naked. I was then allowed to put my boxers back on. I remained in my boxers for days afterwards. I was then told to lay face down on the floor and then put my knees up to the cell door. So my feet were elevated and my knees were touching the door while I was laying on my stomach. So then my arms placed behind my back. So as I did that, the guards, one was holding a gun at me. The other two one would gain control of the door. Another two would just reach in and grab me by the ankles. They reached in, grabbed me by the ankles, and then the third one would pull open the door full way. As soon as I was clear of the door, they shut it. And then they dragged me about 20 feet, basically dragged me into a group of other guards, where they then piled on top of me, took control of my limbs, my ankles, my wrists. At this point, it's just survival. It's just trying to endure what's next, what's coming.
So as you can hear from that former inmate right there, it gets really gruesome. It gets really crazy. So I could understand why a lot of these inmates would be going to their lawyers to see if they can get their charges reduced, charges dropped, anything of that nature, no matter how much they might be guilty of the crime. Because in the end of the day, it's the guard's fault. One person violated in the jail and everybody had to pay the price for 2 days straight. Okay. This story has been exposed by a bunch of different news stations, but I'm going to make sure that I keep on bringing this up as it evolves, as this news story develops over here at the We Love Hip Hop Network, because I think this is really important for a lot of the people who watch this, a lot of artists who I interviewed over the years, who are artists that we spotlight, are dealing with a lot of legal issues and might be able to relate because they might have gone through some of these inhumane conditions that we see over here at the Maplehurst. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments below. Do you think that some of these inmates deserve to get their charges dropped, their charges stayed? Or do you think that they should stay in because they're criminals? You know, you might fall under that school of thought where like, yo, these guys are criminals. No matter what happened to them, keep them in the jail. Or do you think they deserve to be free? What do you think about the inhumane conditions that have been happening over here at the Maplehurst Correctional Facility? Also, let me know in the comments below if you've dealt with these kind of conditions, if you've ever been locked up and dealt with these conditions, whether it's at the Maplehurst facility or other facilities all over Ontario or all over Canada, okay? Let me know in the comments below. I read all comments and respond to as many as possible. Make sure to hit that like button on the way out. We are off of this. Deuces. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out these other videos on the screen and make sure to like and subscribe.
We love hip hop.